I'm Kevin Liddell, and this is Market Efficiency with Limited Government Regulation, the keyword here being limited. The first question asked here, the first example would be, should the government regulate the financial market by guiding consumers away from taking out mortgages they can't afford? I have to say absolutely not. In a free market, free country, consumers should be able to take out any offers available to them. The responsibility will have to fall on the consumers and the banks offering these. The bank's responsibility to weigh the risk, see if they want to offer it to consumers who may be higher risk, maybe taking more of a gamble on if they can pay them off. But then it's also the consumer's responsibility to accept or reject these offers on their own accord when the banks decide that they will take the risk on them. And you have to believe that these customers will act in their best interest and will act rationally. You can't regulate the entire population, the entire market, based on the small irrational minority. That could really handcuff those who are acting rationally in their best interests and just are taking a calculated risk. You can't stop people in the market from being able to take risks to try and further themselves, further their interests. And following on that, the second example, should government regulate the financial market by requiring easy to understand disclosure of all the fees charged by mutual funds and banks? I'll say yes, but it shouldn't have to. Assuming that these banks are practicing good legal business and there should be no real change, these banks should have this information available to the consumers as it is. I'm sure there are some banks that are a little bit more shady that will try and hide this information to get people to sign up for things that are not in their best interest, but you have to assume that the majority of banks will already be doing this. But like I said, it should just be a normal practice by any good business, and consumers should be taking the time to research any investment they're going to enter into anyway. They should go out and find information for themselves, and it should really regulate itself. If there are these banks providing shady practices, I'd like to think that they would be weeded out. Consumers would stop going to them. But since that isn't always the case, I have no problem with the government regulating that at least all the information is disclosed to these customers. Like I said, full disclosure should be a part of every transaction, not just in the financial market. It's just good business, and I believe government should only be here to, in a very limited capacity, uphold contracts, protect property, and keep free trade free and keep the market moving. One example where government intervention is needed is keeping monopolies from being established. But beyond that, there aren't many times it needs to really get into the market. But I would also say that government making sure all the information is disclosed to the consumer could just be helping them keep a free, fair market. So you're not having consumers enter into things they have no idea or information on, which it should be the consumer's responsibility as well to understand any type of contract or anything they enter into, any fees associated with it, and act accordingly. But this is one area where I see no problem with the government pushing that to make sure these banks are being fair, giving all this information. And in conclusion, government should only be here in a limited capacity, make sure the market's free and fair. And the main thing, government should never really try to guide customers in the market in or out of any deals available to them. That should be up to the consumers to make their own decisions, to take the risks they would like to take, and on the banks as well to give the consumers the opportunity to take these risks. And it's also a risk for the banks. And that's why I think, based off these two examples and questions you gave to us, that the government should only regulate the financial market in a very limited capacity.